Hey there, GED Math students or any math student that is watching this video. In this video, I am going to go over 5 GED math questions in which you cannot use a calculator, and you very well could see similar problems on the 2025 GED Math Test. So let's jump into question 1. It says, what is 15% of 60? So really, this is my problem, 15% of 60. Write that over here. In these types of problems, the word of from right here means multiplication. So let me erase this, and I'll replace the of with a times sign. So what I'm doing is taking 15% times 60. Well, the easiest way to do this is to just take the 15 times 60. 15 times 60, and I'll write it in column form, like so. I'll worry about the percent sign later. So, to multiply this, bring down your 0. 6 times 5 is 30. So put your 0 here and your 3 here. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 3 is 9. So when I multiply 15 times 60, I get 900. I notice a 9 here, right here. So I look at my answer choices. Do I see a 9 in my answer choice? Yeah, I see it right here. So B is going to have to be my answer, and I can move on. Now the question is, why is my answer 9 and not 900? Because percent means divide by 100. That's what it means, and I really need to divide this by 100 because that's what percent means. So if I go 900 divided by 100, because that's what percent means, when I divide that out, these drop off, the zeros here and here, and you're left with 9 over 1, which is 9. Question 2. 2 to the 4th divided by 2 to the 3rd. Whenever you divide powers that have the same base, you subtract the exponents. So you should notice here that the base in the numerator is 2 and the base in the denominator is 2. And the exponent in the numerator is 4, and the exponent in the denominator is 3. So the bases are both 2. So when you divide, if the bases are the same, just bring the base over, which is 2. Just write it one time. And subtract the exponents. You'll take the top exponent, 4, and subtract the bottom exponent, 3. You do it in that order. So what's 4 minus 3? Well, that's 1, so it's 2 from here. Just bring this over, and 4 minus 3 is 1. That matches up with B. Now we have the correct answer, but I suggest you stay with me a little longer because I'm going to explain to you when on the GED Math Test the answer would be A, under what situation it would be C, and under what situation it would be D. So let me explain that, and then we'll move on to the next problem. Now, a lot of students want to know why the answer isn't A, C, or D, so let me just quickly go over that. The reason it's not A is because you're dividing, and as I told you earlier, when you're dividing and the bases are the same, you subtract the exponents. If the problem were written like this, 2 to the 4th times 2 to the 3rd, then your answer would be A, because when you multiply, if the bases are the same, they're both 2, what you would do is add the exponents, 4 plus 3, and that would give you 2 to the 7th. So if your problem on the GED Math looked like this, then your answer would be A. A lot of students say, why is the answer not C? Well, For the same reason, when you divide, you subtract exponents. When would the answer be C? Well, if you had something like this, 2 to the 4th to the power of 3. If it's written like this, in this form, you multiply the exponents. So in this situation, it would be 2 to the 4 times 3, which equals 2 to the 12th. So if the problem on the GED were written like this, your answer would be C. And a lot of students say, when would your answer be D? Well, if these two were flipped around, if your problem were 2 to the 3rd divided by 2 to the 4th, then your answer would be D. Because remember, when you're dividing and the bases are the same, you bring the base over, which is 2, and you subtract the exponents, but you always start with your top exponent, then subtract your bottom exponent, which is 4, so it's 3 minus 4, and that would equal, well, let's think about this. Bring over your 2. 3 minus 4, well, if it's 3 degrees, if it's 3 above 0 and it goes down 4 degrees, your temperature, if this were temperature, would be -1. So 3 minus 4 is -1. So if your problem were written like this, then the answer would be D. Question 3. For what value of x is the expression 1 divided by x squared minus 9 undefined? Well, an expression is undefined if the denominator, or the stuff at the bottom, is equal to 0. So for example, if you had something like this, 1 over 0. If you punch this into a calculator, you'd punch it in this way, 1 divided by 0, and you would get an error message on your calculator. So anytime there's a 0 in the bottom, or if you divide by 0, it's undefined. I mean, for example, if you had 200 minus 12, and that was all divided by 0, that would be undefined. Or if you had x plus 6 divided by 0, that would be undefined. So keep that in the back of your mind as I work through this problem. So let's rewrite this expression here. 1 divided by x squared minus 9. And I want to know for what values of x, or in other words, if I plug in certain values for x, will it make the bottom part go to 0? So for example, let's rewrite this. I'll just bring the 1 over. We're not doing anything with that. Just bring it over. Divided by, well, let's start with answer choice A and plug in 0 for x and see if that makes this bottom part all go to 0. So I'm going to replace this x here with the 0. So this x, I get rid of it and replace it with the 0. Bring over your squared minus 9. Let's simplify the bottom part. That equals 1 over, well, 0 squared is just 0 times 0, which is 0, minus 9. Well, what's 0 minus 9? If it's 0 degrees outside and it goes down 9 degrees, you're at minus 9. Well, this value of x being 0 does not make the bottom part go to 0. Because when I plug 0 in for x here, the bottom part, after I evaluate it, is -9. So we want to know when this expression is undefined. Well, it's not undefined here because the bottom doesn't come out to 0, so A is gone. Let's try it for B. X equals 9. So I'm going to rewrite this expression again. Put it in a different color. I'll bring over my 1. And we have x squared minus 9 in the bottom, so I'm going to replace this time this x with this 9. So I'll put 9 in for x here. So I replace this x with 9. Bring over your squared. And then minus 9. Well, let's see, that's 1 over, well, what's 9 squared? That means 9 multiplied by itself 2 times, or 9 times 9, which is 81. Minus 9. That gives us 1 over, what's 81 minus 9? It's not going to be 0, but I'll finish it out. That's 72. Did the bottom part go to 0 here? No. So it's not undefined here either, because the bottom part's not 0. So when I plug in x equals 9, we don't get 0 in the bottom. And again, when I plugged in x equals 0, we didn't get 0 in the bottom. So these two are gone. Let's try C. X equals 3 or x equals negative 3. So now I got to plug in two values for x, this one and this one, both of them. And if they yield or give us a 0 in the bottom, then C will be my answer. If not, then D will be my answer. So let me just clean this out right here. We'll work through this again. I will rewrite this expression one more time. We have 1 over x squared minus 9. So first what we're going to do is try 3. I'm going to plug in into the bottom a 3 for x. So bring your 1 over. Now I'm going to substitute in 3 for this x squared here. So replace this x with the 3 from here. Bring over your squared minus 9 from here. And let's simplify this. So bring over your 1. 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9. Bring over your minus, bring over your 9. And bring over your 1 again. And what's 9 minus 9? That is 0. So when I plugged in a 3 and I simplified this, I ended up getting a 0 in the denominator, which makes this expression undefined because you can't divide by 0. Right here. So this piece right here makes the expression go to 0. Now let's try negative 3 and see what happens. So I'm going to rewrite this expression again from up here. 1 over x squared minus 9. And now I'm going to replace the x here with the negative 3. So bring over your 1 and replace this x with negative 3. Now when you do that, make sure you use parentheses because you have that negative sign. So replace this x with negative 3. Again, you need to have those parentheses in there when you substitute a negative number in for x. Then bring over your squared. Bring over your minus 9. And let's simplify this. We have 1 over, what's negative 3 squared? Well, that means negative 3 multiplied by itself 2 times. So it's negative 3 times negative 3. Down here, 3 times 3 is 9. Negative times negative is positive. You don't need to show that positive sign. So in summary, negative 3 squared is just 9. Then bring over your minus, bring over your 9. And let's simplify this. This becomes 1. What's 9 minus 9? That's 0. And we have now 1 divided by 0. You can't divide by 0. Get that in the right color. And negative 3 gives us an undefined expression as well. So in summary, when I plug 3 into this expression here, when I plug 3 in for x, I get, and I simplified, I get this out, I get 1 divided by 0. I get a 0 in the bottom, which makes it undefined. So when I plug in 3, it makes it undefined. And when I plug negative 3 into this expression here for x, and I simplify it, I also get 1 out as 1 divided by 0, which makes it undefined. So by plugging in 3 and negative 3, I get an undefined expression. So my answer is C. Before I move on to the next question, there's one more thing I want to go over. I think it's kind of important, so I recommend you stick with me real quick here. As a reminder, anytime you have division in the bottom like this, or I'm sorry, not division, but a 0 in the bottom, it's undefined. Undefined. Or if you had something like this, and I kind of did this at the beginning. Let's say you had x squared plus 20x divided by 0. Doesn't matter what's in the top. If there's a 0, if you're dividing by 0, undefined. So this is undefined because there's a 0 in the bottom. This is undefined, there's a 0 in the bottom. But if it's flipped around, if the 0 is on the top and it's like this, this is okay. You can have a 0 on the top. I just wanted to point that out because that might show up on the GED where you're going to get something with a 0 on the top and they'll say, is it undefined? And it's not. So just keep that in mind. Question 4, solve for x. So we have some values for x. I'm going to rewrite the equation here. I'm going to show you how I deal with this. I'm going to put a time sign here. It's not showing. Really what's going on is I'm looking for some number that when I multiply it by 3 and add 7, I get 19. So which one of these numbers would work? This is how I'm going to do it at first, and I'll show you another way if you want. So let's start with our first answer choice of x equals 3. So I'm going to replace this x with 3 in my head, right? In my mind. I'm going to replace this x with 3. I'm going to say, okay, does 3 times 3 plus 7 equal 19? Well, let's see. What's 3 times 3? That's 9. Plus 7 equals 16. No, it doesn't equal 19, so this is gone. A does not work. And you might want to put up a Weiss wall here just to separate your left-hand side from your right-hand side. And remember that equal sign divides your equation into two sides, your left-hand side and your right-hand side. I call this my Weiss wall. Let's look at B, x equals 4. So again, I'm thinking in my mind, what number times 3 plus 7 gives us 19? So let's replace the x with 4, right? I'm going to replace the x with 4. I'll kind of cross it out this time. So I'm thinking to myself, does 4 times 3 plus 7 equal 19? Well, let's write it out. 4 times 3 is 12 plus 7. Sure enough, it equals 19. So my answer is B. So let me clear it out this way. My answer is B. So in my mind, the reason why it's 4 is because I'm looking for some number. When I multiply it by 3 and add 7, I get 19, and 4 works, right? Because if I replace the x with 4, get rid of it, and put a 4 here, 4 times 3 is 12, plus 7 is 19. Question 5, 3 3/4 plus 2 3/5. Now these are called mixed fractions because you have a whole number part. In this case, it would be the 3 and the fractional part, which is 3/4. Same thing here. The whole number part is 2. The fractional part is 3/5. So when you add mixed fractions, there's more than one way to do it. What I'm going to do here is change these to improper fractions as follows. I'm going to multiply here and add here as follows. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 3 is 15. I put that on top. And this 4, which is in the denominator, just stays the same. Just bring it down here and keep it in the denominator. Plus, again, we'll multiply and add. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 3 is 13. Put that in on the top, and then on the bottom is the 5. That stays the same. Now these are called improper fractions because the number on top, or the numerator, is larger than the number on the bottom in the denominator. And you should notice when we're adding these, the denominators are different, so that makes it a little more difficult to do. I'm going to show you a little trick to add these. I cross multiply as follows. I'll multiply this 5 with this 13. I'm sorry, with this 15. So 5 times 15 is 75. I'll put that over here, and I'll show you how I got that in a second. Bring over your plus sign. And now I'm going to cross this way. I'm going to multiply the 4 with the 13, and 4 times 13 is 52. Put that right here. And then on the bottom here, I will go ahead and multiply these two right here. The 4 and the 5, and I'll put that in the bottom. So 4 times 5 is 20. I just put that here. So 5 times 15, that's the same as 15 times 5, so I just write it this way, 15 times 5. And then 5 times 5 is 25. Bring down your 5, put your 2 up here. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7. That's how I got the 75, and you can do the same process with the 4 times 13 to get the 52. Now let's just simplify this piece right here. I'm going to add 75 plus 52. 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 plus 5 is 12, so that's 127. When I add these two, over 20. Now I'm getting somewhere. I'm almost finished here. I'm going to see when I change these to mixed fractions, or to improper fractions, which one comes out to be this, and that'll be my answer. So let's start with A. We'll change this improper fraction to a mixed fraction, multiply and add. Let's see, 9 times 5 is 45, plus 8 is 53, and on the bottom is 9. That does not match up with this, so A is gone. Let's go to B. 20 times 6 plus 7. So let's see. 20 times 6 is 120. Plus 7 is 127. Over the 20 on the bottom. Just bring that over. And that matches up with this, and B is my answer.